Jerry, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Ready? Sean, go ahead.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 13th public hearing. This is a virtual meeting. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Purpose of this meeting is ordinance 2020-9, an ordinance to rezone approximately 1.19 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 112, map 31A, parcel 182 and 218 in Beaufort County, South Carolina, to be rezoned from T4 Neighborhood Center to T4 Neighborhood Center Open. This is a rezoning. I will open it up now for comments. We've got the property up on the screen. Are you showing the property, Sean? Thank you. We've got the property now showing on the screen. We'll open it up to comments. We can take those comments through Facebook comment or on the phone number that was posted. No comments over the phone. We got to give Facebook a minute approximately.
So Brooke, you're watching comments?
Okay. I've been informed there are a number of comments on the phone, so we'll take those first.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're related to the rezoning.
These are related to the rezoning, correct?
My name is Stevie Mills. I will say that I cannot properly hear everything that is being discussed. But just hours ago, I was notified that there was a meeting and that the subject would be short-term rental.
We're not
They were
taking,
attempting to pass some laws with sort of doing it under the table without anyone knowing about it. So I'm appalled and upset, of course, and I don't know what is going on, so I'm joining to find out what's going on and protect my property and my interest in what oil.
thank you. First of all, this section of the council meeting is not about short-term rentals. This is about a rezoning. That section will happen in a little while. We're taking comment,
I'll hang on.
thank you. We're taking comments on the rezoning. Any comments on Facebook? One last time, anything on the phone for rezoning? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the May 13th regular council meeting. There is no public entry in this council meeting. The staff and council is here. We are less than 10 people in this room, and we are all abiding by social distancing. And thank you, everybody who's watching online or participating. First order of business is we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Jerry?
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings of life. And Lord, we thank you for this opportunity we can all come together and do the business of our town. Lord, be with each person here tonight and give us the courage, the wisdom, the words, and the discernment to make decisions for the good of our community. Lord, be with our county, with our state, with our country, and the world as we continue to navigate through COVID-19. These things we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next item is we have to reinitiate the emergency ordinance, ordinance 20-20-15, an emergency ordinance to reauthorize and amend the emergency ordinance 20-20-8 related to electronic meetings and other matters thereto. This is in reference to the COVID-19 and the way we're having to hold our meetings now. What is the pleasure of council?
I move that we approve ordinance 20-2020-15.
Second.
Thank you, Darrell. Thank you, Mary Beth. We have a motion, a second.
Roll call vote.
We need to do a roll call vote, so I'll start on my left. If there's any discussion? None? Jerry?
Jerry Ashmore approved In favor?
Kevin, say your name.
Kevin Phillips, approve.
Heard that?
Mary Beth, approved.
Darrell Owens, approve.
Joe DeVito, approved. Thank you, everybody. The next is we have a number of minutes from the meetings that we've been holding, both virtually and a few present. We've got minutes from the February 29th, the March 4th public hearing, special meeting on March 4th, council workshop on March 4th, special meeting on March 11th, regular council meeting March 11th, special meeting of March 27th, and the regular council meeting of April 1st. All of those minutes have been in our packet. Would you like to take this, council, as one large group, or would you like to do these individually?
One large group. I'll make a motion to approve all minutes as presented in one large group.
We have a motion to approve all the minutes as presented. That's A through H on our agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mary Beth. Thank you very much. Any discussion on the minutes? Deletions, exceptions, additions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Again, roll call vote, same order, please.
Jerry Ashmore in favor.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Mary Hayward, favor.
Darrell Owens, aye.
Joe DeVito, aye. Next item of business, we have a proclamation for U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. Ms. Hayward is going to read that proclamation into the record.
Thank you, Mayor. Proclamation for the town of Port Royal. For nearly 1 million Americans, boating continues to be a popular recreational activity. From coast to coast and everywhere between, people are taking to the waters and enjoying time together, boating, sailing, paddling, and fishing. During National Safe Boating Week, the U.S. Coast Guard and its federal, state, and local safe boating partners encourage all boaters to explore and enjoy America's beautiful water responsibility. Safe boating begins with preparation. The Coast Guard eliminates the human error, accounts for 70% of all boating accidents, and the life jackets would prevent nearly 84% of the boating fatalities. Through basic boat safety procedures, carrying life-saving, emergency distress and communication equipment, wearing life jackets, attending safe boating courses, participating in free boat safety checks, and stay sober when navigating, we can help ensure boaters of America's coast, inland, and offshore waters stay safe throughout the season. National Safe Boating Week is observed to bring attention to important life-saving tips for recreational boaters so that they have a safer, more fun experience out on the water throughout the year. Whereas an average of 600 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., 77% these are fatalities caused by drowning. And whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment and not by boat, equipment, or environmental factors. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. Now, therefore, our Mayor Joe DeVito do hereby support the goals of the Safety Boating Campaign and Proclamation May 16th to the 22nd, 2020 as National Safe Boating Week and the start of the year-round efforts to promote safe boating. Proclamation U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. In witness, therefore, I urge that all who boat to practice safe boating habits and wear a life jacket at all times while boating. This proclamation shall be in effect immediately upon adoption, signed, sealed, and respectively submitted as this 13th day of May, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Hayward, for reading that into the record. Is Mr. Ballard on the phone or on Facebook some way? Just thank you for, and it's been done, probably, I wish he was here, but can't do it that way. Okay, next item of business is council briefing.
All right, I will start with, give me 1 second to get my mic in position here. Fort Frederick Boat Landing, up on the screen you'll see a schematic of what was going to be 2 phases of construction for improvements to the Fort Frederick Boat Landing area, which is adjacent to the Fort Frederick Ruins, which is adjacent to property that was previously purchased by the county for open land. as well as being close to the existing fence line to the rear of the Naval Hospital, which includes the national park that we've been included in for the last few years. After reviewing the plans, you'll see that there were going to be about 5 designated boat spaces for improvements to the boat landing. And considering current fiscal constraints as well as the reality of spending a lot of money for 5 additional spaces, the county and town got back together again to discuss looking at the scope of this project. And basically, what you're seeing in yellow is all being revisited, but what would still be maintained as a fishing pier or included in that project is a fishing pier as well as a kayak launch, which you see at the bottom of the screen, which I'm kind of circling there. But it would still, many of the landward components will be included. But if we eliminate the boat landing piece of it for 5 spaces, it will be ultimately a savings of $750,000. So taking those things into consideration, we wanted to discuss that with council and see what your feedback was on that.
So my understanding then is this boat ramp would only have 5 spaces for boats.
Correct, and that's what you see right here.
So we're really creating a parking nightmare when it comes to boats and boat trailers, if we were to
Right.
build a boat ramp.
Yeah, we all know what typically happens is even though you have X number of spots designated, you end up with a proliferation of additional boats that show up in the park.
Is that landing of any use? I mean, can you honestly use that landing with such a great drop-off that it has right there?
Well, I never used, it was closed really prior to my arrival. So I'm sure it was used. I've been told that during Water Festival, it was used a considerable amount because then you had volunteers from the Navy that helped assist getting boats back onto trailers. But when 9/11 happened, that boat landing basically closed.
Right.
So the lack of maintenance has happened, is there, and obviously it has no floaters attached to it now, so you're kind of on your own when you back that boat up. So what they were proposing was kind of an abandonment of this existing ramp and relocating it here. But like I said, you can see there are 5 spots. This is a handicap spot here, and this is a kind of a turnaround spot. So these aren't really spots as well. So for a, $750,000 for 5 spots just seemed, and the reality is we're also trying to abide by not only the ruins that are here,
Right.
but there's also been some additional discovery on this portion of the property recently, and I think y'all had a video shared with you. And so we have an opportunity to make this a really nice park utilizing the county-owned open space that was purchased almost 15, 20 years ago, adjacent to the Fort Frederick ruins, and give people an opportunity to launch their kayaks here and also fish from this fishing.
So there's Tabby, you and I have been down there. There's Tabby ruins there.
Yeah.
And what may or may not be the Emancipation Oak down there.
It's inside the fence line, but it is close by.
Right.
Right, and then also, if we do open the boat landing, we're talking about sending a lot of trailers down a residential road, and they're gonna be parking all the way up if it gets really crowded. I really like the idea of this being a kayak, a much less impact on the neighborhood. It's a great place. Think about launching kayaks there. If you're a kayaker, you go into there, you can wrap around the sands, you get all the way around to the sands, you come around that side, or you can go into the downtown. Let's keep it, to me, it makes sense to be a little bit not passive, but a lot less intrusive on the neighborhood, and still giving a great access to the water and a great place to go and look at those ruins.
Can you launch a boat at Port Royal Landing Marina?
No.
Okay. Because that's just right on the other side of the bridge there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. But,
So this is conceptually where we are.
Mary, any thoughts? Darrell, any thoughts on this?
I visited the site, but I need to go back again
Okay.
and try to picture this.
And council's looking for, county is looking for some directions from us and you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Van, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots, and what is am I reading it, a dead 30-inch laurel oak or something?
Where the parking area, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
dead tree there, but obviously you've got some additional trees you can take out. But, we'll keep, I think they're gonna have to almost revisit some of this landward pathway stuff based upon what they found at the archaeological study up near the roadway coming in.
Yeah.
And obviously we want to make sure we remain very clear of the ruins up on this side.
Pretty little piece of property. If you've never been down there, I'd say.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes,
I just-
And this will keep it that way, lot less intrusive, all of that, no, you know.
I just wonder if maybe we ought to look and even consider, if we're just gonna do it for the kayaks, maybe what we ought to do is put a picnic table or two down there, because it's a beautiful site for people to go and enjoy.
Wasn't that what that one
Yeah.
canopy was, next to the
Yeah.
yellow
Yeah.
and the white space is a parking space, and I think that's what that building was, a picnic
Yeah.
area, and then there's gonna be a fishing pier.
Yeah,
Correct.
I just think that
Yeah.
So that's
people
what
to have
they said.
access, be able to sit out and enjoy it would be
Yeah.
great.
That'd be awesome.
Let's work with the county and see if we can enhance the pedestrian
You
use
already
of it
know.
as we go down this
I
path
could
that we're
just
not
get
going
down
with
to the
boating.
sands, I can imagine how this would be.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, exactly, and it gives the, I mean, there's a lot of people that are so close to that could walk and spend the day and really
Absolutely.
enjoy that.
And the military families.
And hopefully someday the fence will be opened up, you know?
Chief
Or we
Beach
at least
said
move
it's
back.
Relocate.
Relocate, at least move back. Well, Van, thanks for working with the county on this and bringing it to our attention. Everybody take a quick, take a look at it as you can, and let's, if we have to make something, if they need an official, if they need an official resolution or anything from us, let us know and put it on the next agenda.
Mayor,
Okay.
Chief Beach did make a comment saying it was very popular and well-used area.
Okay. For boating or for just pedestrian use?
That was said.
Okay. Chief, for boating or pedestrian use?
Delay.
I'm sure he'll jump back in.
And just real quick, we'll move on to the port. The Bluff neighborhood conceptually has been approved by the Design Review Board. They're still working on resolving permitting issues relative to the marina and reuse of the concrete building. Obviously, those are, yes, sir.
Gonna say, can Linda, because not everybody is in on the DRB, but can you give us just the cliff notes on what was accomplished during that DRB meeting with the situation of the homes and garages, et cetera, so everybody knows?
Yes, of course, yes. So the designers came to the Design Review Board for a request that would allow the homes along the water to not be rear-loaded, to be loaded from the street. This is something that in the documents that we've had since mid-90s had not anticipated. It was an oversight in the zoning documents, the question itself, and presented with it. Design Review Board looked over it, were assured that the design that was going to address the street would be quality design, and with that, allow the variance to happen. So,
And it looked good. I kind of sit on there on behalf of y'all, and they presented it, Bill Harris presented, and I thought it was very tasteful and was well received, and I thought it was really good.
They got to lock that one in line.
So it's kind of like, what's the front, what's the back of the house, kind of deal, chicken, egg, whatever, but it looked really, really good. They did a good job. So, thank you, Linda.
All right. Anything else, any other questions about the port? Just real quickly, I do know that WIT was working with some of the local restaurants, Nick Lorenzini, to kind of stand up a kind of an open-air restaurant slash beer garden located on the property. Obviously, it has to be properly licensed and meet the social distancing requirements. I think he's still working on that. They weren't able to pull it off this past weekend, but they were able to. I think they're going to potentially do it this weekend. But I'll be posting any progress as far as that goes. Next item is Spanish Moss Trail. I think now that we've identified kind of conceptually how the Bluff neighborhood is going to be configured, I think it is now an opportunity to kind of address where we eventually will see the pathway or the trail as it crosses Rebo Road and connects. And I think what the interested parties are trying to organize a meeting to discuss how that is going to happen. The funds have been designated, or were designated by the county to address the engineering portion of getting the trail across Rebo Road. So now that we've kind of figured out where we potentially could land this thing, it's time for everybody to get together and discuss that. So
Good deal.
that's the status on that. Sands Beach, let me pull something up real quick.
Real quickly, if they happen to get something that they think is a working plan between the Friends and Gragos, maybe they invite them to our next council workshop to kind of update us, council, so that we
Yeah.
understand where they are,
Yeah.
please? Thank you.
That's fine.
All right, Sands Beach, one of the things that we've recently been discussing, obviously because of some social distancing and, trying to keep the public safe, we've limited, vehicles and golf carts and said, no chairs, no umbrellas, trying to make sure people use it for recreational purposes. But where we are now is that, those recreational restrictions have been lifted, and so we're allowing people to go back and sit on the beach, bring their chairs, bring their umbrellas. And kind of coinciding with this is the potential of reintroducing the golf carts and potentially cars back to the sands. So one of the things that has been discussed is two things that were discussed. There was a survey that was put out, and you all saw the results. People overwhelmingly supported the idea of keeping vehicles on the sands. But one of the things we discussed running parallel to that was introducing this plan of bollards and rope to kind of restrict the access of the vehicles onto that front portion of the sands down here. And then as you can see up here right now, there's a golf cart access that would allow the golf carts to get in to that particular portion. But, where we are now, and one of the other things that we found out today is we had submitted the permit to OCRM for the grading, fill and grading of that road. And we found out that they had no record of it. They found it, it was sitting on a desk, and they will work on expediting that. Okay, so that's what that is. As far as this goes, we do not need a permit to install the bollards in the rope system. So if that's something that y'all want us to proceed with, we can. I talked to Jeff, and this is something we can do in-house and can probably knock out in a couple days if there's support of council to erect this. Now, once we do this, obviously, we'll reintroduce those vehicles to the sands.
What's the timeline to introduce them? Just,
Up to you guys. I mean, we could go ahead and introduce them while we're doing the work. It might be
until the
easier
work
if
is
we
done.
do it after we
I
install the
suggest that
bollards.
after the work is done.
so, and do we know how far these ballards are back? Are those cars right there that I see on the right side? So it's
Yes.
about 3-4 car lengths back?
Yes, right now, yeah, it's a minimum of at least 2 to 3 right there.
Can golf carts still get on the sands?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll
golf
see in
carts
that
can go
upper
up.
portion right there, it's called, there's a golf cart
Golf cart
access.
access and the golf carts,
So can the golf cart come all the way down here to,
Yes.
Yeah,
right down the beach line.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll say, I'll go back and looking at it, and there's another picture that has the line
let me see.
that was in there, it was way farther back than that.
Let me see if I can go.
And,
Apologize for jumping around.
no, yeah, it's back earlier in it, that one. So that, because that's,
Yeah, you can
that's
see there.
pretty
the
far,
cars up
that's
here.
about 20 car lengths back.
Yeah,
So, we all, we had that, everybody, one of the things that we think is unique about the sands is having cars and golf carts on it. I just really want to be careful, really, any restricting that. I mean, it's what people love about it is being able to drive up on their cars and be near the water. So, I don't know, I'm a little hesitant of having a rope up that people can't pass. But of course, it's a decision for
And we'll
council.
still allow them an opportunity to tailgate, even at that point,
Yeah.
so.
So let's make sure, this is the drawing, and this is the rope line we're talking about, not that other, not that.
This is the
other.
one we're
So
talking
you're
This
about.
is
just
the
not-
one with the parking lot.
You're just
Yeah,
not
this
on the
was
berm
Right.
in a car, you're maybe one car,
Behind the
2 car
berm.
lengths
Right, right.
But
back.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're looking at that picture, there's cars on the other side right now. So I don't know what the issue is.
Well, that'll be-
Because I also agree that I do like the idea of having safety, like one way in, one way out, but as far as the vehicle access to the water is kind of the
The key.
unique thing about the sands, if you talk to
So-
anybody.
We're not talking about restricting access of cars to the sands area.
It's just how far they can go
It's
up.
just how far they can go.
forward.
Right.
We're all in agreement that we can have cars at the sands.
And I think also it's an environmental concern also, the closer they are to the water, if you have a vehicle that is not mechanically sound, leaking oil and so forth, I think by us limiting, how far they can go, I would say.
Again, my personal opinion, I go down there a lot, cars they're right where they are right there on that hill.
Yeah,
You go there a lot, so I
And I'm one of those people that's parked up there.
yeah, so I
Yeah,
would
me
say,
too.
Turn it around and just sit in the back in my hatch, in the
Yeah.
water.
I know, exactly.
But
So
again, I don't think that people would be that angered by it. You know, they still have access, and they'll still have a nice view.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll
It's,
still
and
have a
it's
nice
only
view.
like a car length, like we
Yeah.
said, a car, one or
We're
two.
talking about car length, I can live with
Yeah,
that.
I mean, that's,
I'm not
I
gonna
can live with that too.
say
And
cars
then you've got
key.
Some of
golf
those are-
carts.
No, that's not the conversation is
Right.
really organizing the parking,
Yeah.
having the safe zone, or, you know, free zone of cars on the other side.
If you looking at those cars right there and use those as a measuring tool, that line is obviously farther back than just one car length.
Yeah.
Some of
Another
those areas,
concern
it's
that I have-
4, maybe 5 car lengths back.
This line here, I think,
Well, I think if you're looking at it.
I mean, if you just stack those little cars back to back,
So if you're looking,
Two and a half.
this is your
Two and a half,
berm
three,
here,
so-
and you're back, and you look, but you're talking about way back here, is that right, Kevin?
no, I'm saying the line,
This,
right?
this here is only like one, maybe
yeah,
one.
it's
two
like
car
50,
lengths.
75 feet from the top of that berm, that's all that is,
Yeah.
50 feet if that.
I think another
And then the
benefit
golf carts
also
over
is,
there,
Well,
that go in.
Van, how difficult would it be to kind of flag off what we're
Liability?
talking about out there?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Let's flag it.
And I
You
think
know.
another benefit also, I've seen also in the summertime where that place is very congested with pedestrians. And I think again, by minimizing at least the car length, as we stated, cars from there, that gives people more room, more space also to relax, sunbathe or whatever. Because if you get more cars up on the berm, then again, you have a lot of pedestrians out there also. And I've seen lots of people out there on those berms.
Yeah.
Well, Van, maybe you could have Jeff just get some flags and just flag it off.
Yeah,
Come
then
off
let
that
us go
berm,
check
one
it
car
out.
length,
Get a visual look on it, not the
Right.
satellite.
Yeah,
image.
absolutely.
and we all just say, all right, we gotta go out there and look at it this weekend.
Yep. I'm
Thank
good.
you.
All right,
And I guess
Yeah.
OCRM, they're gonna move pretty quick, they know they've kind of really,
yeah, I mean, it's, they had a health issue that kind of caused that.
dropped on a desk. and
They're
nobody
normally
knows.
very accommodating, so it just happened.
Good.
Um,
And that's something we're ready to jump on if you get the permit as far as to make those repairs before
Oh,
we
yeah,
get.
I've got a contract queued up to do it.
Great, because it would be great to get those repairs before the cars re-enter the beach as well.
Yeah.
To have that all done and reopen it back up and do.
Because like you mentioned, I think once we get it regraded, it'll hopefully prevent some of the traipsing into probably more sensitive areas.
Yeah.
And what was suggested, we might probably need a little bit more signage to make people aware of what is wetland and what is not. And even walking through them could be problematic, so we'll just make sure we do a better job of that.
There was a discovery this week of oyster catchers
Yeah.
down there.
And that's because of the lack of activity on the beach. I mean, there's been less human interaction, so that bird felt comfortable doing that. And then, of course, the restrictions were lifted, and, we had a family that was basically sitting with their dog on top of the nest, and the birds were
Yeah.
carrying on like they were crazy.
And the birds were attacking the family. When I heard, that's how they realized it was a nest. And I think I heard, and I don't know, I heard there was 5 eggs, it's down to 1, that it's still there. They've kind of put some signs up to protect it, see if they can't get it to,
It's a neat area, there's pickleweed down there too. You walk around, you can,
oyster catcher. That was the name of the
I'll show you
bird.
some
Oyster
pickleweed.
catcher was the name of the bird.
Do
you
we
can eat it,
want
tastes like a dill pickle.
to put any tentative timelines on
Yeah, with your
when
comments also.
opening up when allowing golf carts back or vehicles, I mean, any kind of, what that looks like?
I'll have it
'Cause like
flagged
right
by
now,
Friday.
okay.
And then if you guys decide, I think you could potentially have vehicles maybe by the following, not this weekend, but maybe the following week.
Great, so another week and a half.
That's fine.
That's with those installed.
So start up to June.
Yeah. So potentially opening on June 1.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, and just kind of following up with that, we've had a lot of executive orders and a lot of rescinded executive orders. And so we're trying to figure out how to transition, particularly our recreational opportunities, playgrounds, skateboard park, obviously here talking about the sands, and as well as how we're going to eventually reopen town hall to the public. But one of the first things I think we probably need to discuss is, what are the parks? Right now, I think that some of the more active recreation has been reopened by the governor. And one of the phone calls that we most frequently receive, and emails that we receive, and texts that I'm receiving, have to do with the reopening of the skateboard park.
Yeah.
I can tell you that it was used when it was closed, and we had to educate some people on use. My concern with the skateboard park is making sure that the people that use it are exercising social distancing as they should. When they were using it, they weren't, and then, you know, maybe we can address that with some additional signage. But is that something the council wants to entertain or not?
Let me make sure I understand. We, this council, did not close the park, right? The skateboard park got closed by the governor's
Correct.
executive order. But I thought what he lifted didn't include this type of activity the other day. Did you get did you?
I got the impression that it was
Okay,
recreational, that he was trying to
Monday.
address with recreation.
it'll be Monday.
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 Yeah.
Gyms and athletic events and barbershops and nail salons on
Correct.
Monday.
Correct.
Monday.
I guess my
12
thoughts.
a.m.,
What was that?
12 a.m.
12 a.m.?
Monday, 12
Sunday,
a.m.
Sunday, yeah, 12:01, Sunday, yeah. So my feeling on this is if the governor order lifts it, go, open it. But please get a clarification that that does fit in that limited sports event, because I thought that's the way it was described, as a sporting events
Okay.
that were being opened. And if we can classify it in there, you know, as long as Chief's not gonna have
Right.
too big, you know, and then we can always close it again if it becomes an issue, and this time we would be closing it
And I
rather
think the
than.
signage would be good, you know, riding
Yeah.
on the Spanish Moss Trail, I like those signs that they have also. Help us keep it open.
Help us keep it open.
By exercising social
Yeah,
distancing.
maybe
That's
we can do
good.
that. If you feel like that's
Good point,
appropriate,
yeah.
then maybe we can also work that our Facebook page really says, guys, we've got to keep this open, we've got to abide by social distancing.
Exactly.
Please remember that and deal with it in that way. But we didn't close it, so there's no action by us to open it unless we're going to decide to do some sort of a special to close it. So if the governor says it's open,
Then it's open.
follow the governor's orders on that one. But I know playground equipment was not named.
Yeah.
But
So
this
that
is-
will remain.
That will have to remain closed. But this is a little different as a skateboard park, because it is a sporting, it's a sport type of event. I don't know.
We
It's
probably need to
interesting.
clarify. I'm like you.
I'll say with, you know, with the research I've looked into it, like the passage of COVID and outdoor activity seems pretty weird. So if they're opening up gyms on Monday, then
Yeah,
I think, you know, an outdoor skate park.
Should be able to be open.
Should be
Yep.
open, yeah.
And just the other piece of that is we're making, you know, logistical decisions about how we reintroduce the public to the court as well as this building. Right now, I think the consensus of staff is to limit the access to this building as much as possible. We're able to do everything via appointment in the way it's being handled now. So that will continue. Linda actually constructed some plexiglass for us for the front windows, so we've got that addressed.
Thank you, Linda.
But, you know, we're also considering measures of requiring masks for those folks that do come into town hall. So and what we will do will mirror what the other municipalities in the county are doing as we introduce the public to these spaces.
Yeah, I think that this building should be one of the last
Yeah.
absolute things that opens back up.
okay.
The next item, y'all are very well briefed on, so we'll move past that one. Tool study, we just need to get it scheduled again. You know, once we all kind of feel comfortable, then maybe that's something we can do Zoom-wise with them, but which could be opened up to the public and participate, so that's something to think about.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
So that could be a good one there. You know, and that may, and we probably want to talk to them a little bit about the grant opportunity that we recently received, and maybe they can include some of the ideas that we anticipate for that area into something that we could package, put together for submittal. So something to think about. CDBG, nothing new to report this time. You know, we've submitted our requests and hopefully hear something about that. I'm not sure how the community development block grants are going to be impacted by changes to federal spending, but I will, as soon as we find something out, I will let you know.
There's, you know, LCOG is in the office, so I mean, you can talk to them, but they're like y'all limited.
Redevelopment Commission, that they reallocated the funding they had for the Port Royal 5 program to commission basically SK and Sean to produce a number of ads, you know, reintroducing or having business owners discuss, you know, what their reentry plans or reopening plans are. I think Sean has probably filmed, what, 7, 8, 9 those.
They look good.
They look
They've
good.
done a good job.
Excellent.
And for those
Yes.
folks, those businesses that didn't become aware of it because of, it's been on social media and newsletter, we actually mail letters out to them, so hopefully we'll get some more responses generated by those letters. So that's pretty exciting stuff. A couple other things they asked us to do, which we've done, is created a COVID business-friendly page on our website,
Saw that.
so they can know where to go to the SBA or, engage with the economic development folks to figure out what they can and can't do, and funding opportunities or grants, PPP, those sorts of things. And the other thing they've asked us to post to the website is a business directory of in-town businesses, so the people can check and see is properly licensed or not. So that's something we'll do. We're still in the business license renewal phase, and once that's completed, we'll do the directory piece.
I think redevelopment commission's done a good job throughout this whole process. Been engaged in their meetings. We do need to get a council member over there to give some representation. So we need to be thinking about that. And I think we probably just lost a member of the redevelopment commission.
Caitlin.
Right, recently, so we'll need, at some point, we need to kind of put that on our radar. But they've done a great job. Bernadette, Virginia, they've done an excellent job.
Good.
Yeah, and it was a great idea. I don't know where it came from about doing these videos, and I'm glad they were able to use the last of those funds that way. And again, another great way to promote our businesses in town and let people know that we're here, and other businesses are seeing this and they're like, this is a place I want to be.
Cool.
This is a place I want to come to. The town, is really here for us, so.
That's right.
I think it was a really good decision by them in the economic development world and what our current businesses.
I think the census from the business owners within the town is very helpful. They're very appreciative of it. So they're very thankful, and they feel like the town is doing a great job. So in their eyes.
That's good.
Thank you, Sean, for
That's
that.
good feedback, John.
Thank you.
Porter's Chapel.
Porter's Chapel, we have resolved the water sewer connection issues with Buford Jasper, so that's been worked on. Because of that, we were able to go ahead and build the handicap ramp, ADA ramp for the building. The other piece of it now is we've been encouraged to resubmit through the accommodations tax process to the county an application for funds. Obviously, we've got about $275,000, if not a little bit more, into the relocation and renovation of this of the chapel, so we'll get that moving forward. Other piece of it, obviously, we're a little bit up in the air right now on the relationship with USCB and the coursework. Obviously, it's kind of an independent study piece, so I just need to get with Chip and discuss, how he sees that moving forward. I did get a bit of an update, which I'll forward you, which I got late this afternoon from Scott Jaworski, who's the ranger for the National Park Service here, and he's got kind of an action plan moving forward, which I will send out to you guys.
It's fantastic. He's still really willing to do
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Shrimp docks, we discussed at the budget workshop, creating a separate enterprise fund to better track the business of the shrimp dock. Just wanted to let you know that I think we moved 4,500 pounds of shrimp across the dock today.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
So,
that's great.
Yeah, season's kind of kicked off, saw that check, so pretty exciting. We were able to, get that room constructed within the square footage that we're renting now to process shrimp, so. That's
So good. It's worked out for them and they were able to process
Yeah,
it.
so far so good.
Very
Wow.
good. That's good news.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Cypress Wetlands, I do have the contract in hand with Wood Brothers out of Green Pond. As I mentioned to y'all before, we're waiting for the current nesting season to be over before we start that work, but we'll get that done. So once nesting season ends, they'll be on site to begin the scope of work we discussed for the improvements of Cypress Wetlands. Road work, not much to discuss. I think we did the patchwork behind the PD and the FD. I think there's some
that looked good. I
opportunities that
saw
we're
that.
gonna to explore, to maybe give us some funding chances to make some things happen as we, I think we all know that probably the local option sales tax is not going to be considered for this upcoming election cycle. We also have some concern about the designation of CTC funds, which I think will be a larger discussion beyond just Beaufort County. But we'll see where that goes. So we've obviously got a lot of road work that needs to be addressed, and it's not going to get any easier, at least in the short term. So we'll get to that discussion a little bit later. Naval Hospital sidewalk, we don't really have an update on that, but I wanted to keep it on the radar. However, I think what the mayor mentioned about maybe a potential plan for addressing The intersection and some of the surrounding road network could be encompassed in this as well. And I think that's all I've got. Wait, here we go, another couple items. Drainage issues. We did have a pretty significant drainage problem on West Vine a couple weeks ago. Our guys went out and pumped out some of that water. But since then, the DOT has come and cleaned the pipe out and reestablished pretty much almost the entire ditch section. I think a couple sections they left out, but there could be a pretty significant improvement in capacity. So hopefully that will flow better. We had the two houses at the corner of, I believe it was Drayton and West Vine that were flooded.
Battery Park.
Park flooded on both sides, so,
No one could get to their front door
yeah, so.
or leave their front door.
Yeah.
They woke up in the morning.
And then additionally, we did clean out that box at Fort Frederick Circle, which I mentioned. We had Degler do that, and we have somebody queued up as well to address the easement, which is apparently on the lot across the street. And we have somebody that can do that work as well pretty soon. And we'll see about getting them scheduled. Deck lines, last item. We've had ongoing issues with that aerator over and over again. But we found another contractor to install one that is for shallow water, and they're going to do maintenance on it on a contracted schedule. So it'll be taken care of and we'll have to deal with it. We did have repeated problems just because it was just the wrong aerator. But we can use the existing panel and tie in, plus with the line we've got, and we're able to also clean out one of so hopefully that'll make a significant difference in the operation of that aerator. That's all I got.
I had just one thing, you made me think of it. We've got the June primary upcoming. We kind of talked about it a little bit about this facility, and I'm sure y'all are in touch with the election commission and how to handle that, et cetera.
Yeah, they have not reached out to us. It's definitely on our radar because of what will have to happen in this building pre and post. I know that there was some discussion about either delaying it or trying to enhance this is at the state legislative level, enhance the ability of folks to do mail-in voting. I'm not sure exactly where that ends up standing, but we will be working with the election commission if we still will be posting. But after that, we're going to have to do a pretty significant, we'll have to work with them on the clean of this building afterwards.
I agree.
That's all I have.
I guess from that, the only thing I'd add to that, I guess, if it really does, if we end up having to use this building, possibly even consider staff not even being here that day. I think maybe it's appropriate with the amount of people that are gonna be coming through the building. Maybe we can look at that and figure something else we can do that day, everybody work remote, or we do a special closing just because of that reason. I think it's something we need to consider if they're gonna use this and the amount of people coming through here, till we get the building cleaned back up for staff.
I agree.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Van before we move forward?
Councilwoman Alice Howard sent a message just now also with in regards to Van talking about Fort Frederick, which he did.
We did.
We're good.
Thank you, Ms. Howard.
We said Alice Howard was going to pay for everything. Didn't we?
That's
Yeah, I
right.
think that's what was said.
County's gonna pick the tab up for Alice, is what they said.
Next item of business is the second reading on ordinance 20-20-9, an ordinance to rezone approximately 1.19 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 112, map 31A, parcel 182 and 218 in Beaufort County, South Carolina, to be rezoned from T4 Neighborhood Center to T4 Neighborhood Center Open. This is the property located on the map at the corner of Paris Island
Yeah, let me
Gateway
see.
and what's that street?
Windsor.
Windsor. I knew it was one of them, but I couldn't remember which one. And Windsor. We need to probably put the 911 addresses in here in the future so people easily know that on the description. Owned by Habitat for Humanity? Owned by Habitat for Humanity. Pleasure, yeah, we've already had a public hearing on this, so pleasure of council.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Jerry Ashmore and Ms. Hayward. Discussion,
That was Owens, second by Owens,
second by Owens.
yes.
He's seconded, I believe. I don't think Mayor Beth seconded. I think Darrell seconded.
I second.
Darrell first.
Darrell got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was close.
It was close, sorry.
By a hair.
Oh, wow, good.
I had noticed it.
By nose. Any public comment on the rezoning? Wasn't any during the public hearing, very good, we'll bring it back to the desk. What's the pleasure of council? Same order, please.
Jerry Ashmore in favor.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Mary Hayward, aye.
Darrell Owens, aye.
Joe DeVito, aye. Thank you, everybody. Next is our first readings. First reading that we're going to entertain tonight is ordinance 20-20-12, an ordinance to amend Article 4, Section 4.1.30, Principal Use Table, Section 4.1.40, Principal Use Definition, and Section 4.2.20, Conditional Use Regulations for the Office and Services of Port Royal Code to pertain to short-term rentals, new short-term rental ordinance. We think we have a little bit of a presentation on
Yeah.
this and what we're talking about.
Yeah, just, I'll try to run through as quickly as I can. I made a presentation back in November to the short-term rental task force, kind of summarizing the recommendations that they had worked on for several months. And this, real quickly, I'll go through it. The purpose was to keep the feel and diversity of Port Royal as it currently exists and establishes a system to track short-term rentals in the town, to protect the health and safety of occupants of short-term rentals. Here we have the definition section. STR is the rental of a single-family home or accessory dwelling unit for lodging purposes in which the dwelling meets all applicable building and safety codes, and occupants reside for no less than 2 or more than 29 consecutive nights. What follows up is a kind of a definition of what is considered a short-term rental. A single-family home is defined as a single-family detached home, duplex, condominium, or townhouses, either owner or non-owner occupied. An accessory dwelling unit is defined as an auxiliary dwelling unit located on the same lot as a principal building that may be attached by a back building or contained in a standalone building. Applicability. STRs are permitted in all transect zones except T1 and P. STRs are allowed on all boats. 1 dwelling unit structure per lot can be used for an STR. Where the owner does not live on the property, STRs are limited to a total of 8% of the lots in each district of the Port Royal short-term rental map, which we'll look at a little bit later. The exceptions, as recommended to the 8% limit, are in commercial zones, which is T5 and T4 urban center. For the most part, you see those basically along Paris Avenue. And properties with an assessment of 4%, this is for those folks that might be doing short-term rental in their primary residence. If a district reaches the 8% limit, a task force from within the district should be formed to evaluate the limit and make an action or no action recommendation to the town council. Application requirements, pretty straightforward. An applicant must be submitted to the town manager or designee. The application shall contain the following information. Y'all can probably read along as well as I can. Address, total number of individual rental units, the number of bedrooms in each rental unit, and the number of parking spaces provided on site for each rental unit. Maximum overnight occupancy of each rental unit shall not exceed 2 people per bedroom plus 2 additional people per rental unit. This was discussed extensively, looked at several different options or recommendations from around the country, and this is what they settled on. The names, mailing address, business phone numbers, personal phone number, business addresses of the owner, and local agent, if handled through an outside agency, must be included. There's a non-refundable application fee, and we certify annually that the application on file is accurate. Additional requirements: parking shall be provided on site if possible, with the preferred location to the side or rear of the rental unit. On-site parking shall be delineated with an improved surface such as pavement, gravel, or another method approved by the town manager. On the street or off-premises parking can be used as overflow parking. Obviously, this was an item that was discussed extensively as well. A unique number will be assigned to each rental unit. This number must be used in any marketing platform, online or otherwise. This gives us the ability to track track occupancy. Rental rules. Rental rules are, and information shall be available in the unit in a conspicuous location. These rules at a minimum should consist of the following items: the minimum stay, the maximum number of guests, use of the sanitation and recycling reservoirs, emergency contact information including the police non-emergency number. A diagram showing all exit routes to the unit must also be displayed in all bedrooms. They must understand the Port Royal noise ordinance, which applies between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Large gatherings are prohibited, such as weddings and reunions, unless specifically approved by the town manager or his designee. Pets, if permitted, are not to be left outside unattended. Pets and owners must comply with the town of Port Royal and Beaufort County Animal Control ordinances. A property management plan shall be developed and approved by the town manager. The property management plan shall identify a local property manager if the owner does not occupy the premises or the owner lives more than 2 hours away from the SDR. Signs. No on-site advertising signs are permitted. Monitored fire alarm. A monitored fire alarm is required for all units except boats. Boats are required to provide documentation that a Coast Guard auxiliary safety vessel check has been performed. The vessel safety check can be arranged through this link, which is the Coast Guard link, which you see there. And existing facilities not meeting this requirement shall be brought into conformance within 6 months of the date of the adoption of this code. Outside approvals required for properties located in a neighborhood or multifamily structures with a property owners association. The applicant shall certify STRs are permitted. For boats in an approved marina, written permission from the marina manager is required. Short-term rental operators are responsible for complying with the property owners association requirements. A safety inspection shall be conducted before the business license for the STR unit is issued. The facility shall comply with all business license, revenue collection, and health laws of the town of Port Royal, Beaufort County, and the state of South Carolina. Failure to comply with a violation of this ordinance within 60 days shall result in the revocation of the STR permit for 2 years. Unlicensed units. For units that are found to be operating without the approval of the town, the short-term rental application fee shall be $1,000. If the property owner chooses not to submit a short-term rental application within 60 days of being notified by the town of violating the ordinance, a short-term rental application shall not be approved for 2 years. These are a couple other things they ask you to consider. Permit can be transferred to another property owner owned by the permit holder in the same district if transferred within 60 days from the date of the sale of the existing unit. When this regulation is put in place, units operating under the current rules shall be grandfathered if the 8% cap has been reached. Just real quickly, these are the way the districts were configured. Obviously, you're looking at, I believe that is 16th Street, which is the upper limit of districts 1 and 2, and they are divided by Paris Avenue. 3 and 4 obviously still divided by Paris Avenue, extending in directions up to Rebo Road. And then the upper one here extends and includes Port Royal Landing Marina. 6, 7, 8 are on the other side of the bridge, and the Shell Point area as well as includes Shadow Moss. And this is just a little bit closer drawing in the northern district so you get an idea of what the existing numbers were. All right, these are numbers that were as of that November date, and you can see that the numbers per district at that time. Running parallel to all this is that we did have one of these software providers give us some idea of what they anticipate or what they saw as potential units that were operating or had been operating within our corporate boundaries, and they were in the neighborhood of 90 to 100, but at that time we basically had 70 licensed. And in public comment through Facebook and probably through the phone that I know we would have been receiving it during that time rather than beforehand, so I'll give the floor back to the mayor.
Right, before we open it up to public comment, which would be the next statement, let's talk a little bit about the procedure and where we are and where we think we want to go forward as a council, so that the public understands what we're talking about doing. This is an unusual time for council meetings, and this is obviously an issue that a lot of people are passionate about. So my feelings and my thoughts are this, that the way we move this forward is if we choose as a council tonight to do any type of a motion on this, I think part of that motion should include that there be a workshop on this subject, then there be a public hearing, and then there be a second reading. So there will be 3 opportunities, or 2 opportunities from here, that we can find a way that we can have people that are concerned about this maybe come a little bit more forward. I'm thinking of the point if we did a workshop and we limited the number of people in the room, and we did it in a way of social distancing, and so many people could come in at a time as they came in to do their comments, so that we can get this in front of people, and we don't have the concern of people think we're doing this behind closed doors in any way, because that's not what we're doing. It's over a year, it's time, we're just trying to move this to the next step. So I offer that as a suggestion to council, and that's all. I think this one, because of what it is, we really need to take it in a strategic fashion, and having a workshop where we can do that, and then the official public hearing that's required, and not have that vote that same night, but literally another month, in case anything happens at that public hearing that we could consider for the final reading, is kind of where my head is on this. The MPC did not give us a recommendation. They did pass the ball back, I guess is the way I'll describe it. I don't normally use sporting terms, but it did come back to us. There was some conversation about possibly putting a group together, a smaller group. My feeling is this is the smaller group at this time that needs to vet through the last of these issues to be dealt with. And there is a pretty good document. Linda, I think this was you that went back through the minutes and created us, so that Linda went back to the minutes of the MPC and brought each one of the issues out so that we could deal with them and their concerns. So that's all I have on this issue. I think I was just trying to put it into a context. If anybody wants to talk about that before we go to public comment, because I think there are a lot of people waiting to talk, and if they understand they're going to have the opportunity to do this face-to-face, it may move this along tonight, that we can have that face-to-face, that they can come and meet with us in some fashion. We'll figure out what that fashion is to make that happen. I'll open it up for a little bit of discussion from there.
I'll say I feel that the suggestion that council's trying to hide this issue is a little unwarranted. The task force was created in February last year, correct? So we're now in month 15, going on month 16 of this discussion. Have we had a workshop on it? I remember last year it being discussed that, when the short-term rental, y'all presented, this was presented to open public. It's gone before MPC. Whatever the council thinks is appropriate, but again, this is an issue that we've been discussing for 15 months, going on 16 months, and at some point, I think we need to make a decision as a council, and people want us to make a decision either way on whatever that decision is, so.
To answer your question, there was a task force workshop presentation. Then it went
That's
to...
right, it was Pat's house.
Right. Then it went to the decision of our council as where it needed to be. Then council rewrote the recommendations into an actual ordinance. Then that ordinance went to the MPC, and now it's back to us. So it's in its normal procedure from that point. The only addition to that procedure that I'm suggesting is another workshop where people can come in and address this issue specifically. That night there would be no vote. But you're right, you're absolutely right. First meeting, if I'm remembering correctly, was January 20-something, 6th.
Yeah, almost a year and a half.
2019. This is what nobody's saying. Anybody else? Does anybody do we want to move open to public comment now, or do we want to make a motion in any fashion on what you want the next steps to be?
Motion on the next steps or motion on the ordinance?
The whole ordinance, and part of the motion could be that those steps are put into place. That could all be part of the motion.
What point are public comments?
If we open it up to public comment, then what I'm trying to get across is that they don't know if there's going to be another opportunity for public comment. If we do some sort of a motion now, or if we do, if we do a motion that's going to give them the opportunity to public comment, they'll know that, and then they can come to that meeting and organize that. Because there's been a number of people that have said that they didn't know it was on tonight's agenda, and they feel like they're being rushed. I don't know that that's just what I've heard. Anybody heard the same thing?
Can we have public comment tonight?
Yep.
And then us discuss if we want to have a workshop?
Yep.
In between the second reading?
Then I will.
Because this needs 2 readings, correct?
Yes, there will be
An
two.
ordinance change needs 2
Correct.
readings.
So I'm hearing, open it up to public comment. Does everybody agree? Okay, we are going to open it up to public comment. The first, we have a timer set. Public comment will be 2 minutes. Where the comment, on what I'm opening up to public comment, hold on a second. We talked about the use table, we talked about this, but there's really 2 ordinances to do this. Is that correct?
Yeah.
There's an ordinance to delete the
Right.
current residential.
But we can do everything public comment off of this one. Okay, so we're opening up to public comment, which was presented right now.
Now, you have some emails that we've received, which we can go through.
Let's do the emails first.
All right, give you one. Make sure, I'll start with Charlie Gray. When this issue comes up tonight, it would be helpful to know where the zone percentages stand now. It has been a while since those numbers were publicized. We had new permits issued in the last 6 months. COVID-19 is not a reason to slow the progress on this ordinance, in my opinion. Once we open up again, tourists will be looking for domestic vacation alternatives. Please move on and let's get this resolved. The task force put in many hours to get this to this point. All right? And if I missed any, y'all let me know. That is from Wendy Zara. I agree we need updated numbers. In any event, 8% cap with 4% properties and SDRs in their district along Terrace Avenue exempt, plus no distancing requirements are way out of line. We need to be in line with the city. Phil Allen. Also, this proposal to create a group to revisit the percentage if a district reaches the saturation point is absurd. There's no process for establishing a group, no guidelines for decision-making, or mechanism to present findings to council. All right. And that's all the emails I received. I don't know if y'all received any independent.
Yeah, I have an email. From Teresa Clock. She has 3 issues that she wanted brought forward. One is the transfer of permit. What is the reasoning behind the permit leaving with the owner of the property? Should it sell? That makes absolutely no sense. This devalues my property. Part of the selling point of an STR is that it is in an approved district and the license goes with the sale. Buyers look for this specific thing. Obviously, the buyer would have to reapply for the property and be re-inspected to bring that forward. The second one is the issue about the dogs being left unattended. She has a dog-friendly rental unit. Why is the town imposing this on me and is not imposing it on any other residents, including homeowners and short-term rentals? That is an extreme overreach. Dogs bark, all dogs bark. Not just the ones who are visiting short-term, not to mention this would increase enforcement. Then the last question was the non-refundable zoning license. Is this just referring to the specific to the $100? And the answer to that is yes, in that way. So that was just that one. That's the one that I have.
All right, I have one from Doug Peoples. Good day. It has come to my attention over the past hour that a council meeting was held tonight concerning short-term rentals. I purchased my property in Fort Royal because of location and charm and possibility of retiring to that location in a few years. Renting my property short-term allows me to make sure that my property is kept up and managed properly while I'm not in state. Renting long-term leaves my home open to more destruction of my property when the lease is up, therefore costing me more. Often you'll find some long-term renters that don't want to pay rent, may damage your property, and will sit on your property while going through evictions. The ability for me to rent short-term allows me to keep my property in good shape and still come and stay when I like. What you're proposing will greatly impact my ability to maintain my property. With COVID-19 in place, I feel it's not the time to move on something that will affect the number of people that cannot be in attendance to voice your opinion. And I'm looking through for other emails.
I've got tons of emails that I've been,
Tim
I'm
Ball,
happy
Rand Ward.
to read, exactly. Debbie Ball, Tim Ball, Rand Ward, Elizabeth Pappas, Stuart Hubbis, Tabitha Horn,
Obviously,
Sally Germer,
They've all come in since 4 o'clock, because I haven't opened my emails.
Blue Moon, Bahama, PJ Nadler.
You want to read the, I don't.
Sure, I'm happy to read them if you'll bear with me. You read the one from Teresa Clark.
Yes, I have that one.
So I've got one from Debbie Ball. This is Debbie Ball, live on 15th Street and own 3 STRs, but I'm selling one of them. My husband and I have worked very hard running our STRs. We keep our house in tip-top shape and always strive for a 5-star rating. Our guests are mostly Marine families coming to the area to watch their sons and daughters become Marines and go and serve our country. This is one of the many things that makes Port Royal special. Port Royal is always encouraging people to come and visit, eat at our restaurants, enjoy the beach, come to the festivals, and ride on our bike paths. When people come here, we are in the hospitality business. We want to offer a hospitable and welcoming place to stay. What is wrong with that? We moved to Port Royal because it was different from the other cookie-cutter communities. I know some things are going to change with the port being developed, but I sure hope a lot of what we have now will remain the same. Let's let the market regulate the number of short-term rentals in PR. Please do not pass this agenda that is being presented tonight. Thank you for your time, Debbie Ball.
I just opened my email. I've got that one also from Rand Ward. You want me to read that?
Yeah,
one?
you read Rand Ward, and I'll read the next one.
Rand Ward sent an email. I have 2 points that I would like to be brought forward, please. Item 1, is any of this necessary? Please give the number of short-term rentals when the group started and the number now. Has there been a rush to beat the deadline? If not, is this necessary? Please consider that parking has always been the biggest concern. In order to limiting parking on the street to be allowed only on property you own or renting would go a long way towards reducing and irritating infringement to surrounding homeowners, not only by short-term renters, but other people visiting Port Royal. Exceptions could be made for special town events. Everything in the agenda can be done with the licensing application. This is just more unnecessary rules and regs. Rand Ward.
You have Sally Germer and Tabitha Horn as well.
Let me read Stuart Hubbis real quick.
I don't have that one. Go ahead.
Dear council members of Port Royal, we are writing in reference to the town council meeting taking place tonight that will address STRs. Having just learned of this proposal, we will address our concerns as best as we can. Of our short-term guests, approximately 9% of families are graduating Marines. The other 10% of families join the area of those visiting local family. Our guests are very quiet and courteous and spend their money at local restaurants and shops, which can only help the local economy. We just spent a significant amount of money bringing our house up to current specs, and now have the potential of spending significantly more money to keep it up to code, not to mention the economic hardship most of us are currently experiencing. Currently, we charge a very fair rate, and the increased costs would have to be passed on to our families. We feel that we do not disturb the peace of the area by engaging in STRs and are confused at the considered addition of more regulations. We bought our home in PR because we absolutely love the town and the people in it. We don't make a significant profit on the house. As short-term rental owners, we were our way of being able to afford a home in Port Royal and move there someday. We hope you will take into consideration our concerns when you cast your vote this evening. Thank you so much for your service and time. Sincerely, Kenny Evans and Jay Stewart Hovis.
Got that one. Okay.
Sally German says, dear council members, there are many things in this proposal that were not in the original proposal to include providing a copy of the rental agreement. No other company that obtains a license from Port Royal is required to provide a copy of their contracts. I believe many things in this proposal treats short-term rentals unfairly. Respectfully, Sally Germer, Red Door Rentals. And then you have a Tabitha Horn that sent something. He said, it has been brought to my attention and at the attention of the other homeowners in Port Royal. There is a meeting today to discuss banning and/or limiting short-term rentals in Port Royal. I understand those are us already licensed who will be grandfathered in. I have a few concerns and questions for you. Why? Why is this being brought up? Why are there so many people against short-term rentals? Why are a selected few homeowners being allowed to come in and demand these changes and limits? This is not what Port Royal is about. We are a small community that helps each other, and is limiting our rights as property owners is completely unethical. I can only speak for myself when I say this is wrong, and in no way should I be forced to agree or comply with what a few homeowners are clearly angry about. There is a proof and facts beyond this, and excuse me, I'm getting a little tight here on eyes. Where is the proof and fact beyond this and short-term rentals are a problem? I would like to know where renting a home or for a few nights is a family coming into the area of their sons and daughters' Marine Corps graduation is a problem. Where is the honor for the men and women who are sacrificing their lives for us? Did the homeowners do their research about Port Royal before purchasing property? Clearly, short-term rental have been around for years. With kindest regards, Tabitha Horn.
I read one from Tim Ball. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have 2 minutes for my 2 cents, so I'll get right to it. I'm against cap restrictions for STR. I am fine with additional regulations, but I'm not for a cap, and for the following reasons. A cap devalues the market value of my property and violates my property rights. In my opinion, the council does not have the right to pick the winners and losers among property owners, and once property rights are lost, you never get those back. Short-term rental is permitted by code. The cap will make it harder to sell properties in Port Royal, and those who do want to sell and cannot will end up either making their property long-term rental or selling below market value. Long-term rentals will further deteriorate market values and attract blight and drugs. I know this firsthand. There's been no evidence presented that a cap is needed other than the narrow-minded opinions of some of which have been shaped by the hotel lobbyists and those beholding to them. The cap discriminates against the poor. For a poor family living in a broken-down trailer or house, the only value they have is in the value of their land. This is all some of them have, and the cap may make it harder for them to sell their property and for less money, taking more from what little they have. The cap opens up the door for potentially costly litigation. The cap affects every property owner in Port Royal, and no evidence has been presented to justify the cap. It's like using an atom bomb to get rid of an imagined infestation of mice. There's no justification for a cap other than to tip the scales in favor of the moneyed lobbyists and their power brokers. Lastly, the cap will empower and embolden the voices of greed and power over the rights of property owners whom the council represents. The reason Port Royal is cool, coastal, and far from ordinary is the liberal zoning configuration, allowing us to work, play, and live in an extraordinary coastal community which has created an eclectic mix of diverse personalities, thoughts, races, income brackets, and socioeconomic opportunities. A town this special cannot exist if the council tips the scales. Instead, we should be more long-suffering and tolerant of our differences and embrace those things that have made Port Royal so remarkable. If not, we just become another gated community of exclusion and privilege and a home to the cold, the calloused, and the ordinary. I would personally love to see a grand hotel and convention center at the port and let the market determine the fate of STRs. Limiting the property rights of all the property owners in Port Royal is not going to make it happen any faster. These are my opinions. Feel free to make your own.
I have one from Tina Kelly. Hello, my apology for the delay in responding. I'm currently driving to Pensacola to visit my mom. I was a very vocal online participant a few weeks ago via Facebook Live Forum. I am unable to attend this evening's meeting and I'm driving, although I'll try to listen in. Please express my concerns for the items called security monitoring or something to that effect. We already paid taxes, lawn care, cable, Wi-Fi, accommodation fees, license, insurance, and now we want a monitoring device for what purpose? In the event that an emergency requires the street address, which is already posted inside the unit on the confirmation email and on the Airbnb website. This is more information than my own home. This is an undue burden to STR owners, ridiculous and unnecessary. If you have a guest visiting your home, do you have your address posted? Do you send an email to your guests? No, no, no. Please express my concerns. This is the last second meeting. I had known, I most certainly would have been more prepared. That's the last one that I have.
I've got one from Phoebe Mills.
Then I got one after that.
Okay. I'm a property owner and I've used my property for both a long-term and short-term rental. I must say, I think people are forgetting what Port Royal looked like when most of the rentals were long-term. Properties were run-down yards and were very unkept. I personally did not have access or enjoyment of my own property. Now, as a short-term rental, I have access to my property and enjoy gardening and decorating to please my house guests. If I am applauded that my neighbors feel it is their right to dictate how many guests I have in my home and where they can park on my property, it sounds like these folks might need to move to a closed-gate community like Daltop for the lifestyle they are looking for. My family has lived in Port Royal on and off for over 60 years now. I was raised in the Port Royal United Methodist Church. I understand that we will and we're going to experience many changes, but it's entirely unjustifiable. Almost 100% of my guests are military families, and Beaufort is a military community. I've never received a complaint from any of my neighbors about my guests, and my home has never been as well kept. The income I have created with my business is a supplement to my retirement and will be a devastating blow financially to my family if it were to change. I've been a happy host to short-term rentals for over 6 years now. Absolutely no complaints. Thank you, Phoebe Mills. Go ahead, Van.
And I have one from Bernadette Clayton. I am writing to voice the opinions of this household. I must add, if it's up to Kurt, they would not be allowed at all. Knowing that is not realistic, here is this email with our concerns. First, I'm glad this is finally coming on the agenda. It certainly took long enough. I do understand that some of the short-term rental owners do try to operate in a way that is not disruptive. However, not all have the best interests of the town or the neighborhoods. Thus, the need for these changes to be made. Page 4-24 through 4-26, G1. I like the wording, and I'm glad it states that it is to ensure that neighborhoods are not adversely affected or disrupted by short-term rentals. G3C, I also like this. Does this get grandfathered in? There are currently some properties with multiple units. G3D, 8% is too high. All the towns that I know of, including the city of Beaufort, are at 6% or lower. D1II, if a property has a 4% ratio, then I didn't think it could be operating a short-term rental. Once you start using it as a business, doesn't automatically go to the 6% ratio. D1II, once a property is sold, the new owners have to get in line and apply for the permit to help bring the percent down into compliance with this set of regulations. E, this is a ridiculous item. So if the east side of Paris Avenue, already above 8%, reconvenes, they could raise it to what percent above the cap? Question mark. That just doesn't make sense to me. This item needs to be removed completely. If a variance is requested, it can be handled on an individual basis. Don't put the entire neighborhood through this again. G8A, will the short-term rental number be placed someplace visible on the property so that those in compliance can be easily identified? G10, property management. I think if the property owner does not live in Port Royal, Beaufort County at least, they need to have a local property manager. A 2-hour drive is too long. A lot can go wrong in that amount of time. G5I3, what is the number of cars per bedrooms? 2, how will this be enforced? 6, how is large gatherings going to be determined? Will neighbors be notified and have input? G15, if a transfer permit occurs, does it leave the original property open for a short-term rental? Or does this mean that the permit only transfers from the original owner to their new property and the new owner must apply for a new permit? A couple of added questions that are not spelled out. When a property is sold that was operating as a short-term rental, all new owners have to apply for a permit. 2, enforcement. what are the plans for this? Thank you for your time.
I've got one from Dean and Peggy Jo Nadler. Good afternoon. I'm writing to express my concerns on some of the restrictions being placed on short-term rental properties at Port Royal. I truly appreciate the town taking a look at this, and I do agree there should be some regulations pertaining to how these properties are managed. My husband and I have been short-term rental property owners, managers for 7 years, and we consider ourselves to be very reasonable with our home. I've reviewed the proposed ordinance, and I agree with much of it. I'm concerned about the restriction that limits the number of guests to 2 guests per bedroom, plus 2 additional beyond that. We have a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, and we sleep 8 maximum. The guest bedroom has a queen and a double bed and acts as a sleeping room. We rarely have that many, but we have never had a problem with it when 8 guests have rented the home. I suggest this restriction be no more than 3 average per bedroom. Some guests have small children, which will allow for 1 bedroom to sleep 4 at the owner's discretion. I'd also suggest that for houses that are already being rented as vacation properties, be allowed to be sold as such and assumed by the new owners as such if they choose to do so, unless there has been a demonstrated issue with the property in the past. If the town does not allow this option, they are potentially impacting the current owner's property value. Please consider these comments as you review the proposed ordinance at tonight's meeting. Sincerely, Dean and Peggy Jo Nadler. And I've got one more on here. I just need to kind of, let's see, let me find it. I skipped over it. Excuse me, sorry for that. Okay. Here it is. Okay, this is, we've heard from Debbie and Timball, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
We have a bunch of Facebook comments. I don't know who wants to.
I had something sent in from Sing Pappas on behalf of, from Debbie and Timball, but we've
Yes.
already heard from Debbie and Timball. So. And
Facebook
that's
comments that are related to this?
all I have.
Specific.
I can, I'll start and then y'all fill in wherever I do. Because sometimes they, Joe Poyer, we need to have SDR comply with hotel guidelines. Doreen Gilligan, I have nothing but good things to say about Port Royal and staying at an Airbnb. I went for my son's graduation, loved it so much, I was looking into buying a house in the area for that. Future Marine Corps families have a beautiful place to stay, enjoy the small community which we lack in this country. Charlie Bray wanted to know if there was a time limit. Y'all may have read Tab Horn already. And I might add, my house was a long-term rental for a few years. It was a nightmare. My house was damaged. We had to spend thousands of dollars to clean it in order to have anyone reside at the residence. Worst part of it, all the Port Royal police officers were one that caused this damage, then refused to leave after this lease was up. Okay. Once again, Judge Poyer, STR reduces the valuation of residential homes. There's a need for a cap, and a residence should have a voice in our community. Franny Cook, STRs do not reduce the value. Just for, again, STR need to have designated parking, preferably not on lawns. And Rhonda Kaniniak, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Not sure how you can mandate these incredibly overreaching rules. Were there more above that?
Yes.
And then she'll, okay.
Ms. Rhonda Kaniki, why are you tracking anyone? It sounds like an HOA. So all of a sudden we have issues with marine families and STR owners. Dean Nadler, we primarily rent to marine families, so it's mostly families. Second bedroom has 2 queen bedrooms, so you're telling me we have to take out a bed and lose rental ability. This Rhonda, again, I'm a business owner and bring business to this town. I also pay taxes. I feel this is an attempt to dictate rules to STR owners. Ms. Bernadette Clayton, just keep a hold on the current numbers before a decision is made, no new licenses. Ms. Patty Poyer agreed. Ms. Franny Cook, I do not agree with holding and no new licenses. I'm also Phoebe Mills, I'm also a business owner and agree we need a workshop and face-to-face hearing before any decisions are made. Ms. Rhonda, public comment. Bernadette Clayton, public comment is fine, but hold the numbers to current license holders. And then Ms. Patty Clark suggests that Linda read the comments issues from the NPC. That will spark further public comment.
And a few more. Philip Fountain. As a Marine of 25 years, I am not offended by rules being put on STRs. I have 2 of them, and I'm ready to comply. Bernadette Clayton. No one is saying stop them, just don't let them overwhelm the neighborhoods.
One second, Ben, before you go on. The multiple comments from a single person is becoming, I think, a little bit of an issue.
Okay.
Everybody's had an opportunity to comment. We can't keep commenting on other people's comment. That's not what would happen if we were here in public. We would refrain from doing that. So you get an opportunity to comment, and there will be other opportunities in the future during a public hearing to do so. So if it's a new comment, please
Barry
read it to
Fitzgerald.
us, but not back and forth, please.
Yeah, we have a Barry Fitzgerald. The South Carolina Vacation Rental Act governs the sale of STRs. It is intended to protect the guest consumer who makes a reservation in advance and is impacted by the sale of the property. The new owner is required to honor existing reservations for a certain time period. If the business permit doesn't convert to the new owner, there may be a conflict. And then I may have people that are listening on the phone that may want to provide comments as well.
It's fine. And again, it would have to be their first comment.
Yeah.
Let me get the volume turned up.
Yep.
Okay.
Is there any comments on the phone? If you have not commented already, through email or Facebook comment? Hearing none, I'm going to close the comment section and bring it back up to the council for their pleasure.
Point of inquiry.
Yes.
Before we can discuss, it has to be motion and seconded, and then that opens the floor.
Yes. We can talk about how we want to move forward, but we really can't talk about what's within the document without a motion forward. So a procedure on how we can move forward, we can talk about, but wanting to change anything in there, that needs to be, we need to get a motion forward and then start making a difference.
At this time, I will make a motion and encourage another council member to make a second for the purpose of opening up discussion, and I will remove that motion at the end of the discussion, and we can go from there.
So we have a motion for the purpose of discussion. Does anybody have a second? I'll call one more time. Any second? Hearing none, the motion dies. What's the pleasure of council? Hearing none, the chair is going to take some responsibility here, and I am going to make a motion that we approve the document as submitted, but part of that improvement requires that there be 2 more public sessions to be discussed so that we can work through the comments that we've received and the concerns of the MPC. One of those will be a workshop forum. The second will be a public hearing. Following the public hearing, at the next meeting, we will take a second reading. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion about the motion.
About the motion and the ordinance?
We can talk about the ordinance as well.
And I'll just say a few things after listening to everybody. The notion that some of our residents and citizens are anti-military because they don't want to see short-term rentals adversely affect the community and their neighborhoods, I think is a little unfair. During the campaign, I went and knocked on many doors in many different neighborhoods, not just in Old Port Royal, all around Port Royal, and met many, many people that encourage and are encouraged by what the council is doing on short-term rentals. And they might not be the loudest, but there are many of them, and I never got the notion from any of them that they were anti-Marines or anti-military. Another thing, I just think good information needs to be out there. again, just to reiterate, anyone that does have a short-term rental, this does not affect, they are grandfathered in. We are not taking anything away from anyone. During this last, for the past months and months, I've done a lot of research, talked to a lot of people, especially members on other councils that have dealt with this. Again, to reiterate, I'm sure we all know that we are one of the only municipalities that have no kind of ordinance when it comes to short-term rentals. That tells me something when every municipality around us in different sizes and different locations and different geographics are all recognizing this as something that needs to be addressed. The one thing I got from the many elected leaders that I talked to was whatever you set a cap at, that will be the lowest it ever goes. It will only go up. So if you look, most of the towns that have set caps, if you look, even the city of Beaufort, who would set it at 6, is now trying to figure out ways to constrain that even more, which indicates to me that the city of Beaufort, which we touch right up against, believes that 6% is too much. There's evidence. I encourage council to look around and look at the municipalities around us and kind of take cues from them. Just reiterate, every single municipality has made it clear that this is an issue. And I also think that it is good and prudent for council to be proactive and try to get in front of issues and problems and not wait for things to become a problem, because then once the cat's out of the bag, you can't fix it. It's always easier to grow and expand than it is to retract. So with that being said, that was the end of my discussion.
Very good. Any of the council members have anything they'd like to add to this? I think there are a number of items from the MPC that I think we need to talk through, but I think those are appropriate to talk through at a workshop. And I'm willing to work with those at a workshop. Hearing nothing else, we'll call for a vote. Is that where we are?
I think so.
All those in favor of the motion, first of all, would you like the motion restated? Everybody understand what we're doing?
Please restate the motion.
So the motion is to approve by title the ordinance that was received, that we have in front of us tonight. Part of that motion is that there will be a workshop with public comment on this ordinance. Then there will be a public hearing. That'll be the following month. Then after that public hearing, the following month, there will be the second reading. So we're talking, with this motion, it is 3 months from second reading, with 2 opportunities for public comment and us to adjust the ordinance to meet those comments or to meet anything that comes up. I'll go ahead and call for a vote, same order we've been using all evening.
Jerry Ashmore, nay.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Harry Hayward, nay.
Darrell Owens, nay.
Joe DeVito, aye. The motion is dead. The ordinance is dead. It'll have to be brought back at a later date if you want to consider this at any point in time. The next item of business on our agenda is the second part of this ordinance, but with the first one dying, I don't even think we need to move forward. No, I need a motion to remove it from the agenda. Item B, ordinance 20-20-13, an ordinance to repeal Chapter 12, Article 5, short-term rental, deletion of the short-term rental section in the town code. I need a motion to remove that from the agenda.
I make a motion that 2020-13 be removed from the agenda based on the fact that ordinance 2020-12 was died.
Do we have a second?
Jerry Ashmore, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. Same order.
Jerry Ashmore in favor of removal of the ordinance 2020-13 from the agenda.
Kevin Phillips, nay.
Mary Hayward, I agree that we remove it from the agenda.
Darrell Owens in agreement to remove ordinance 2020-13 from the agenda.
Joe DeVito, I agree to remove it from the agenda for procedural purposes. Item C, ordinance 20-20-14, an ordinance amending section 6-4-10, non-conforming signs of the Port Royal zoning code to allow minor modifications to the sign face, attachment, amendment allowing billboards to be retrofitted with hurricane frames.
Can we get some more clarification on that?
Linda, can you need some more clarification?
Yes, so the town received an application for a text amendment. It's from Adams Outdoor. They have a couple of billboards in our community. We have non-conforming sign language in the Port Royal Code. This amendment would allow companies like Adams Outdoors to retrofit their signs with hurricane frames. So the way a non-conforming sign language would work is you usually have up to a particular percentage to maintain something that is non-conforming. Billboards are non-conforming in the town of Port Royal. So that's going to, what this will do is allow them to make these modifications without triggering the non-conforming language, thereby nullifying their ability to have the unit. In the application from the applicant states that, if I could just read, currently under section 6.4.10 non-conforming signs, the language is just vague enough that allowing the sign owner to make a minor modification to the sign face, which will reduce the threat to public safety during high winds and hurricanes, could be viewed as a violation of the current sign code. By amending the above text to allow the minor modification to the sign face attachment, we would be able to update the existing sign face with a safer hurricane frame, reduce the risk to personal property and the community during storms. So that was their application to us. The Planning Commission did hear the issue and offered a positive recommendation for the modification of the language. And I would point out that I think some of the other jurisdictions within the community have also allowed this minor modification to their ordinance.
Can I ask you a question? The way it stands right now, if a hurricane comes through and wipes out the billboard, can they put that billboard back?
No, they would not.
Okay,
And
so,
yeah.
so that's the real issue.
That's the catastrophe, yes.
If it goes away, they can't put that billboard back.
That is true.
So they want to prevent that, because I know there's cases in Florida and other places where billboard companies have gone in right after a hurricane and stood them back up, so that it didn't harm their ability to put the billboards back up. Correct?
I would take their their comments at face value, that rather than a catastrophic removal, that the hurricane frame is being provided to, number one, facilitate changing the sign face in and out, and not to, they do not intimate that the hurricane frame is going to 100% protect a billboard in a hurricane. That it minimizes the damage, but it doesn't necessarily take it away.
Well, couldn't we just cut down all our live oaks and water oaks and laurel oaks to minimize the impact of a hurricane in our community as well?
Well, here's the logistics behind it. Prior to a storm coming, they're taking that vinyl off, and so that doesn't happen. What this allows them to do logistically is lift it off and deal with it. Otherwise, they've gotten smart enough that the Miami situations don't happen anymore. They'll go out, take that vinyl off to preserve that from happening, to prevent the decimation of the sign from happening.
Okay.
So they've gotten better, but I'm very aware of the scenarios you're talking about, for for sure.
So do we allow, currently, do we allow more billboards to be added in Port Royal?
No.
Okay. Okay.
And this will not permit anymore. This just
To
creating
protect.
that frame to protect debris from flying off or something.
And
Doing
it
that.
does not affect the structure in any way. They're only talking about the frame.
Right.
I think we have some pictures of what a frame looks like. If you look at the video, Port Royal,
Let me,
that one. So
The metal
if you
frame.
can see, I can go.
I don't think that's
I'm gonna
done
let
on
you,
the
I'm gonna
sign.
The
I'm
frame.
gonna
in the
let
back.
them know you're here.
You can tell, they're pulling up the vinyl on the Granger Nissan Hurricane frame, I think, in the
Yes.
video right now.
So is it not replacing wood with the metal? And actually
We
rebuilding?
have the applicant.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
And rebuilding the
If
sign?
everybody's good with the questions for staff, we can go ahead and open it up to the applicant.
Yes.
Everybody good? Okay, if the applicant wants to go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My name's Bill Hopkins. I appreciate you guys letting us talk to you. The video that's on the screen now, and I know there's a little bit of delay because I'm watching this on Facebook. If you'll start at picture number 1, I don't know who's running it, Linda or Van. If you'll start at picture number 1, I'm going to pull that up on my computer at home, and I think we'll be on the same schedule. And I'll tell you when to click over, and that way it'll work a little better.
Yeah, I'm on the paper bags
We
one.
have 2 billboards. What's that?
Just go ahead.
Go ahead.
We have 2 billboards on Revo Road in Port Royal. This is one of them, and the second picture, that is the second billboard. If you notice, you couldn't tell in the other one, but it is the same as you're looking here. This is a steel monopole structure. We don't have any, a lot of times you'll see those old wooden pole structures around town. We're not dealing with that in Port Royal. So as we mentioned, and you saw a little bit of that video, we're going to go back to that. This current setup, this is extremely outdated, even though it's a steel monopole structure. The facing is 2 parts. You have the billboard structure, and you have the billboard facing. What you're looking at now is a vinyl that is basically clipped into that metal facing. And that metal facing, and I'm going to show you this in another video in just a minute, that entire metal face, which is metal panels, probably weighs about 300 or 400 pounds, that is not bolted onto the billboard. And believe it or not, that is outdated hurricane technology. And the thought process 20, 30 years ago was when the wind gets to a certain velocity, it will pick that face up off of the billboard structure and blow it down the road. And I think it's 120 miles an hour, that'll happen. What that does, and these were designed this way, and it's to preserve the billboard structure. Once that blows off, there's no wind blowing on the actual structure. So go to the next one. This is a video, and don't start it yet, but if you notice, this is an even older structure. It's got 2 I-beams. So that's the only difference that you see here versus the ones that are in Port Royal. Is just what's in the ground, is those 2 I-beams. But the metal paneling that you see, that was the same. This is the same setup that you saw in the previous picture. The only difference is there's not a vinyl advertisement that's slipped in there. It uses clips. What we're doing in this video was, this was up in Harveyville a year or 2 ago, and we actually had to take this billboard out due to some land development. And we were dismantling this billboard. But what it shows is that billboard face, and you'll notice our guy on the tractor, all he is going to do is lift up from the bottom. There was not one single bolt removed from this structure. This is just how they sit every day that you drive by them. So he's going to lift it up from the bottom, and that face is going to fall to the ground. When a storm comes, when we're in hurricane season and we have an approaching storm, what we do as a company as our hurricane prep, we have our own crew, and we also have outside contractors that have to come in because we don't have enough manpower to do this. But they have to come in with a truck, a boom truck, and they pick it up from the top. They pick it up and they lay it on the ground, and we usually will pick a chain or something and attach it to a big tree or the billboard pole itself to prevent it from flying down the road. We do that for public safety. That's what they're designed. They're designed to blow off, but we don't want them to blow off because we don't want to go pull it out of somebody's roof after the storm is there. So whoever's running the video, you can hit play, but it takes it a minute. You might want to fast forward to, I don't know, a minute.
Video number 6.
If you fast forward to a minute and then go ahead and hit play, it will probably.
Oh, Bo, you went on the second video? They've seen the video of the Hardyville.
I'm sorry, say that again?
They've seen the Hardyville video. Do you want us to do the second?
Oh, of it falling?
Yeah, they followed along while you were talking.
I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, so that is, they're just hanging on there. That's that metal face. Let me go to my next one. So the next picture is just a still picture of this is at Granger Nissan. This was a billboard that we actually rebuilt in 2018, and it is up to current billboard standards. It is the latest and greatest. It comes standard with hurricane frames. And that was where, now if you go to that video that you watched already, that's just the other side of it. If you'll notice, one thing I want to point out, this was one person and a pickup truck and a ladder is able to go to this billboard, and if a storm's coming, and it takes him just a couple of minutes, and he takes that vinyl, he pulls it up by himself, he sits it on one of the catwalks, and he straps it down with straps, and you have a piece of fabric. That's the only thing that could ever blow off of there during a windstorm, because the wind is blowing through the structure, there's no wind load. And then you can go to the video that you watched at the beginning of the gentleman doing that. And what it shows you at the end is that metal framing, that aluminum framing, that's a hurricane frame. That is what is being attached. We're not doing any structural modifications to the foundation or anything like that. This is typically a public safety issue where we have billboards that are so outdated, and we understand that given the surrounding, given the community, it's a sensitive subject, and I understand that. But this is something that we need to all work together to get these billboards to where we don't have those things flying off. Before I moved here, Hurricane Matthew gave us a good blow down in Miami, and I pulled out 3 billboard panels from someone's roof a block away from one of our billboards. And it's a real issue. These hurricane frames prevent that. And even at the worst case scenario, we can't get people out on the road to these billboards in time because, again, we have a lot of billboards. I personally, or anybody in our office can go to these billboards with you can go with a utility knife, a razor knife, and go up and slash the vinyl. And what that does is when the wind blows, it just lets the wind blow through. And you've taken away that possibility of having, these 300-pound panels flying out and across the road. So that's what these are. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you. Council, have any questions for the applicant?
No, sir.
Hearing none, what's the pleasure of council?
I make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2020-14.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-14. Do we have a second?
Second.
So let me ask you a question. We've got a motion and a second. It takes 2 readings on this one,
Yeah.
and this would just get it into discussion, right?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Not at this time.
We'll go ahead then and call for a vote. Same order, please.
Jerry Ashmore, I vote at this time in favor so that we can do more discussion and discovery at a workshop or council meeting in the future, please.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Mary Hayward, aye. I'd like to kind of visit the site and look at the one we have in Port Royal to kind of better understand what he's talking about here. Thank you.
Darrell Owens, aye.
Joe DeVito, aye. The next item is ordinance 20-20-16, an ordinance to amend as follows, section 1 of ordinance 20-20-19 to provide the levy of tax for the ordinary town purpose in the town of Port Royal, South Carolina for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020, and to provide the expenditures therefore approved budget 2021.
Typically, what we do at first reading is adopted in title only. We do have a general understanding based upon the workshop that we held last week about what we anticipate the budget to be for the upcoming fiscal year. Probably in the neighborhood, as I mentioned here, of $7 million to probably $7,200,000. Based upon the input I received from council at the workshop, we were able to reduce some of our expenditures and address some of our procedural or structural concerns that we have relative to the shrimp dock operation. The budget that I have put together is based upon anticipated millage of 74. We've obviously made some accommodations for the impacts of COVID-19 on revenue collection for the upcoming fiscal year. As you will see in the revenue line item, we are considering an operating transfer in to address that shortfall, but are still anticipating maintaining that millage of 74. So between now and second reading, we will address the shortfall of the $71,000 so that we have a balanced budget, which we're required to do by state law. Whether or not there will be any sort of state or federal assistance to address revenue shortfalls for municipalities is yet to be seen. There is a document circulating through Beaufort County that there is a potential for potentially for some forgivable loans to address revenue shortfalls. They were kind of surveying all this to see where we stood. Obviously, this could extend beyond 1 year, so there's a range of anywhere from, there was an up to $500,000 anticipated range, and then there was a $500,000 to $2.5 million range. And we all basically said, we're fine with you including it in any sort of FEMA package you put together. It's still too early to determine where all this is going to fall out, but we definitely need to keep that on the table. So having said all that, I would suggest that you pass on first reading the budget as proposed for first reading in title only.
I've got a question. We're going to ask it after we, I asked last week about just foregoing salary for a year. Were you able to look into that?
No, not yet. I've got that question out there. We're trying to get that answer for you.
Okay.
And that'll be it'll be about a $25,000 to $30,000 impact, which would be helpful.
It doesn't have to be, it's just a voluntary thing for those that want to do it and whatever. So I'll make a motion for ordinance 2020-16.
We have a motion to approve ordinance 2020-16. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Same order, please.
Jerry Ashmore, approve.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Mary Hayward, aye.
Darrell Owens, aye.
Joe DeVito, aye. We have, next item of business is resolution. We have a resolution 6-20-20, a resolution for the town council of the town of Port Royal to authorize the execution and delivery of a contract to purchase real property. Ben?
Yeah, just real quickly, if y'all recall, last year, maybe the year before that, we had an opportunity to purchase one of the 5 lots that's at the rear of the shed. We already own 3. At that time, we had a contract in place, but the current owner had some issues that had to be addressed. It took a while to address those. We did get those squared away. So we have an opportunity to confirm the purchase of that 4th lot. And this resolution would formalize the council's endorsement of that purchase. Purchase price is $68,000 for that 4th lot. Like I said, it would give us 4 of the 5. And since we're moving forward with the closing on the shed, solidifies our ownership piece of the remaining portions of that property with the exception of 1 lot.
Are those all in order?
No, there will be one that's in the middle.
One unowned in the middle?
One that we
One
know
do
will
not
be
own.
in,
I got you.
well, the middle of those 2. We own the 3 closest to the fence, and I think we'll own the one that's closest to the dance studio and SK, plug.
Okay.
Very good. Any questions for the staff? Again, this is a resolution, only requires 1 reading. What's the pleasure of council?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 6-2020.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. I'll let you two tell me who won that one.
Everybody catch it that time, Jerry.
I was quicker.
Thank you. I don't want to be called again. I never was an umpire, so I'll give that up real quick. Thank you, everybody. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion on 6-20-20. Hearing none. Go ahead and take the vote, please. Same order.
Jerry Ashmore, approve.
Kevin Phillips, aye.
Mary Hayward approved.
Darrell Owens, aye.
Joe DeVito, aye. Council action and some discussion on the possibility of moving forward with a, what's known locally in Beaufort County as a tag fee, which is really a vehicle property tax. It comes on your vehicle property tax notice. It would be an annual fee. Van, you want to go ahead and explain?
Yeah, basically it was something, Beaufort County for years has had a tag fee in place. Most of you probably noticed it on your property tax bill. It has been, subsequently, it's been adopted by the town of Hilton Head Island, and it is being contemplated by both the city of Beaufort and the town of Bluffton. What it does is basically you are designating funds raised through the addition of a tag fee to the property tax bill that you would designate how you see fit. What has typically happened, and what I would suggest that you do, is it be earmarked for road improvements or anything within right-of-ways. Obviously, with local option sales tax probably not being available to us, it's probably something that we need to investigate, if you will. Like I said, it's a potential viable option.
So it's
to
paid at the
address some of our
time you pay
shortfalls.
your car
Right,
tax.
but it is rather unusual that I received my vehicle tax bill today. Just was the last thing I did before I came, so I quickly opened it to look at where the Beaufort County was, and it's in there on your vehicle, your real property, your vehicle property tax, and it's listed as road maintenance, is the way it's actually listed right now on your current bill. That's the county's version of the tag fee. So there would be a second that would be TOP, Town of Port Royal, road maintenance, is my interpretation of exactly how that would be. The number that's being used in the other municipalities that's being talked about is $25. We can take that number anywhere we want to take that number. At $25, it raises $175,000 plus annually, because we have about 6,000 some odd registered vehicles that was registered last year in the town of Port Royal. Obviously, that's going to change every year. It's going to go up, could go down. So that would be your capital fund for right-of-way, what I call right-of-way line to right-of-way line type of projects, road maintenance, sidewalks, signage, beautification, tree plantings, all those kind of things in any road within the town of Port Royal limits.
It's an additional, whatever we decide amount added to your taxes.
Yeah, so it'll be yearly. You register your car with the DMV every other year, but this would be a yearly tax that comes out. So
Right.
there was a little bit of confusion in that in the beginning, and we had to work through understanding that. And like I said, it was just happened to be. I went and got the mail, and there they were. So I opened it up, and like, I got to see where it is. Normally, my wife doesn't allow me to see tax bills and pay bills. I just put that, so.
Oh, yeah.
We,
Go ahead.
so,
This is discussion.
okay, I mean, I was just asking so no decisions made tonight, we're just discussion?
This is discussion.
Gotcha. I'm gonna, for me personally, just look into it more, talk to some more people, kind of figure out a little more. see where I'm at with it. I mean, I understand the temptation. I just, don't would like raise taxes,
That's the way I look at it. You're raising taxes.
It's definitely a
Raising
fee. It's a fee. It's a fee.
Well-
I agree with you. The only reason I'm cautious to use that word is because according to state legislation, we can't do that. So it is a fee. But you're right. We are incurring a cost to the residents of the town of Port Royal. I am absolutely agreeing with you, Jerry, on that. But it does not appear lost is going to be a referendum this year, so there's no way to gain any revenue from the 1 cent the sales tax. We've got a lot of things that are happening in our ability to raise funds to do capital projects. And this is a tool in our toolbox that we could consider implementing, is really where we are. I found out about this through an unusual statement at a I think it was one of the MPA meetings that Hilton Head had already done it.
So Hilton Head already does this.
Hilton Head has already done it. It's been in place for 2 years, 3 years.
At least two.
At
Any
least
other-
2 years. It was at one of the regional meetings that this came up, and that's one of the way they were using to build something. So then I asked Van to look into it, and we looked into it. There were obviously the other council members and other mayors were at that meeting. We've all kind of heard it, and we've all headed down a path.
And it'll be so
They
for
passed it
capital
in,
projects.
Look at 2016.
2015. So it looks like they passed it in 2015 as their ordinance.
5 years, so solely capital, earmarked for capital projects.
Earmarked within the right-of-way. I really think we should define this, so people know where the vehicle use fee is
Within the
going. I
right-of-way.
mean, it can't be used to go to the skate park. This is literally within the right-of-way. This is to enhance the public safety in both vehicles, pedestrian, the view, the appearance. That's in my mind. I'm just making suggestions. You guys, we can make whatever decisions we want as we move forward, but I think if you're going to charge a fee, and if we're going to do something to make sure we manage our assets in the best way we possibly can over the long haul and not leave a big deferred maintenance to the next council to deal with and the next council to deal with at some point that's going to hit these citizens in some way. This is a way to start building that fund and start doing projects that we need to do. We all know it's going to cost, just in the roads that we own, this is not doing any beautification in any other roads, it's about a $3 million ticket to just pave them. Now, we don't need to pave them all at once, so that's not something that you have to do all at once. But if you were to use some of this fee for that, then you can spread out your pavements over 30 years, and you get all of that in at one point. It's a long-term asset management funding program is really the way you need to think about that, to manage that. And again, you can use it for beautification, signage, trees, anything within that right away.
Well, I agree with Councilman, Phillips also, just, have further discussion so we can
The idea is-
iron out some of the ambiguity.
Let it marinate.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. That's why we had to get it on discussion point. You got to start thinking about it and marinate it. There's some pretty good documentation in our packet. There's a spreadsheet that shows you the number of vehicles. There's the Hilton Head ordinance, which was just brought up, that you can read through. There is something in the Hilton Head ordinance that I don't agree with, and again, everybody's got to make their own decision. They actually do, can you zoom into, they increase the fee over time.
It's hard, this is, because it's a photo, it's hard to.
Yeah, they increased the
9%.
fee by the cost of living rate, I think is the way it read. And I'm not, I think we should set the fee and not increase it. That's just my own, again, the people need to know and be able to long-term budget. But they
You know,
were,
another way to contemplate and think about this as well, if you would prefer that the fee be $10, and that would generate about $70,000 a year.
Mhm.
You could dedicate that annual collection of only $10 to bond a significantly larger, basically you pledge the revenue from that fee for 10 years. And you'd at least have $700,000 of projects.
right,
Or 20 years, and you're 1.4 million.
right, right, so you,
But
like I said.
our vehicle numbers are not probably going to decrease.
Yeah.
Right. So we could certainly, the $25 number was just what was here, and that's what we ran, what it could do. You could start backing that down to anywhere we feel comfortable with this fee for our residents. I mean, that's the reality of what we can do at this point. The only way it can be changed in the future, if we do it the way it's here, is it would have to be another resolution by a council to increase that fee, if you don't place any type of an escalator in the resolution. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a fan of the escalator. I think we should, if we decide it's a fee and we're going to set that fee, I think it should be that fee for a long time, and everybody needs to know that and budget for it and understand
I agree.
what their lives are going to be in next year and the year after. In my mind, when I was originally playing around with the numbers, honestly, I was in the $15 to $18 range. Just looking at long-term asset management, what we would need to do, how we could utilize that money, that was a number that made sense to me in my mind, in the way that we could maintain stuff, and I was thinking about it again, and not having to defer so much maintenance and being able to do things that we want to do on the roads. So that was the discussion. Just get it out there. Like Kevin said, now he's gonna go home with a big wooden spoon, he's gonna stir that pot, see what
So
marinates
that's per
up.
vehicle, right?
It is,
Per vehicle.
it is a
Yes.
So
vehicle.
if I have 4 cars in my yard and we said 25, that's an additional.
100.
Correct. That's why we want to be very, so it's every registered vehicle
I just
within
thought about it,
the
I just
town.
had this, okay, how many cars I have?
How many of them are registered under your name? That's the
Bear in my name.
See, that's it. That's when we got to get our kids' cars out of our names.
Bear in my
right?
name.
Let me say
We
this.
are paying to the county.
So is
Jared-
it a vehicle or is it a tag?
That's on
Because
the
of trailers, motorcycles, et cetera, or is it
That's
just?
a nicest vehicle.
It's whatever
Cars
you
and trucks.
currently receive a county tax
Tax
bill, vehicle
bill
tax
for.
bill for is what it would be. If you don't get it.
So it doesn't include motorcycles?
That's
Yes,
tag,
if you
yeah,
get,
that's
if
tag.
your motorcycle would
Motorcycle
be.
trailer,
That's tag.
Trailers,
yes.
boat trailers,
yep.
that's
Any
boat
of the-
trailers.
I don't know. I don't
That-
know.
that- that-
They get tags.
There's no tags on
There
boat
is
trailers.
tags.
No tax on boat trailers.
No tags on
No
boat
tax.
trailers.
Work trailers there are.
Anything over 14 feet in a van or,
Yeah, I can tell you
I
that.
see tags on the boat trailers.
I got
But again,
tags.
they have to be registered in the town of Port Royal.
Right.
well, if you live here, I hope you're registered in the town of Port
Well,
Royal.
commercial vehicles aren't always, that could be with the
Yeah,
businesses.
that's true.
That could be with the
That's true.
businesses.
But I'm just saying, if if you got a business that comes out of Port Royal and you've got 5 trailers and you've got tags on each one of those trailers, you're paying a fee on each trailer, on each truck or vehicle or whatever's pulling it.
And one of the things is,
I got actually
you've
a
been
couple of
paying this, you've been paying it to the county.
Yep.
So is it gonna eliminate the county?
No, it does
or-
not, but good
So
luck
it's
trying to
an
figure
addition.
out where the county dollars are going.
Yeah. I'd
Okay,
like
they're not, it's very difficult to get them to come back into our town.
I
You
need
know, those
something.
dollars are used for those regional projects,
Right.
but this would allow us to have something that we can use here. So
Something
that-
to think
that's-
about.
It is something to think about, but it's, I like it, in my mind, I like it better than the millage rate, obviously, for the reason.
Man, if you can get some clarification on
Yes, I'm
what
saying.
exactly would be charged,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
I was
Good point.
thinking
It's
25.
probably defined, if you get the form of the ordinance that,
Hilton, I did?
it probably specifies it very
Okay.
clearly.
I had a
Like
hard
I
time
said, that's a
reading that.
picture, so it's hard to blow in.
I was about to say, I had a hard time reading that.
Real property, motor vehicles, registration, boat and motors.
And the county would collect the fee just like ever and then write us a check?
Yeah.
Boat motors, it said boat motors?
Because right now, they're collecting a fee from you.
Pay them.
So assessment ratio for property and something. Well, we'll get us that, those are good questions, and that's why we wanted to get it out to start talking about it.
Sure.
Can we like send us that, Pam?
We got it.
It's
We got
It's
it.
in your packet, yeah. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it's in there.
I must have missed it.
It is listed under HHI tag
Okay.
ordinance.
It's been a long night.
It's just hard to read. 'cause it's-
Everybody's, I assume, I don't know if all the tax fees go out at the same time, but anybody, you got a motorcycle, you may be getting your tax.
I just pay it, yeah.
Take a look at it, see what it says on there.
I'll look next month. Don't worry about
You're gonna get yours next month? All right, I appreciate, any other discussion on, item 10A? Okay, item 11, important information and dates. Friday, May 22nd, 12 to 4, Council of Aging Blood Drive. I happened to register myself yesterday, and my wife. They're filling up, because they actually do, it has to be an appointment. So you have to go on to the Red Cross site and then register. I think it's 15-minute blocks, let everybody know. Obviously, blood is becoming an issue. And I saw something today, and I was going to call the Red Cross to see if this is true.
Is it
There
Red
was-
Cross or One Blood?
This is Red Cross. This is Red Cross. This is not One Blood. This is American Red Cross.
And American Red Cross, does it stay in Beaufort County or does it be to wherever,
Could
where
ask-
One Blood stays?
Don't know.
I don't know. I
Don't
don't
know.
know.
Don't know. I could ask that. But I saw something today that I wanted to get some clarification on. It appeared that there was something South Carolina was doing, that if you donate blood, they're automatically going to be testing that blood for the COVID-19
Oh, that's,
antibodies.
Okay.
So that, I thought that was interesting. And I've got to read further into that and see if when that's going to go into effect, if it goes into this. I'll find out that question on this one. I don't know.
I can't get it.
You can't get, okay. I've done One Blood, done Red Cross, whatever shows up. That's the one I do. This one's in Port Royal, so I did it.
Yeah.
here
Hey,
in Port
that's
Royal.
good to support. We
One
need the
blood was
blood no
today.
matter what.
What?
One Blood was set up today.
Where were they?
They were at Walmart.
They were at Walmart today? Very good. All right, open it up to council comments. We'll use the same order we've been using all night.
So I just wanted to throw it out there, just keep it on everybody's radar. We discussed briefly about the July the 4th, celebration of fireworks. And I just don't see how we could do it, but I just want to keep it on the radar. Van, I know it's on your radar, and there's trigger points along the way that we have to make decisions. And I'll be honest with you, just me speaking, I don't see how we can pull that off this year.
It's something would have to drastically change for us to even consider it at this point.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
But that's all I've got, and thanks, everybody. I know it's a long meeting, we've been here a while, but
That's okay.
appreciate everybody's efforts.
Yes, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Kevin?
I'll just say, Help of Beaufort has a fundraiser going on right now, raising money. Pick up ribs next Saturday if you can get your orders in, so. And the hams were good last night.
Yeah, they were.
They were.
Very delicious.
Same person smoking them, I think I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Seagull,
Okay.
Seagull's doing them. Isn't it a chicken and?
A chicken and ribs, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Need a waffle, then would be good.
Hey, there you go.
Mary? Any comments? Maribel?
No, sir.
All right.
I see traffic is picking up. It took me 5 minutes to get across Edinburgh.
Oh, Lord.
That's happening again. Yeah,
You got to start out earlier.
I know not to go that way next time.
Right.
People are going back to work, so
Yes.
traffic's backing up.
Accelerate SC.
That's a good thing.
Nothing else, I have nothing else to add as well. Is there anybody that has any public comment for non-agenda items?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Well, and I just want to read this. It says, "A uniform service charge is hereby imposed on all motor vehicles with registered addresses within the borders." Okay, so it's motor vehicles then.
Motor vehicles only.
Okay.
Okay,
It
thank you.
wouldn't be,
Thank
then
you
it
for
won't
that.
be
Thank you,
trailers and all
Town
that.
Manager.
We have a motion to adjourn. The agenda is complete, does not require a second or a vote. Everybody have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.